In the heart of the city, amidst the relentless rhythm of life, lived a young man named Samuel. He was a beacon of hard work and unwavering faith, but the weight of the world was pressing down on him. His pockets were nearly empty, and his spirit was growing weary. One evening, as the rain began to fall, painting the streets in a glossy sheen of melancholy, Samuel walked, his stomach aching with hunger, his heart heavy with worry. That's when he saw it. A restaurant he'd never noticed before, tucked away on a dimly lit street. The sign flickered, spelling out a strange invitation, Anyhow Restaurant. The aroma wafting from its doors was intoxicating, promising warmth and satisfaction. The prices displayed on the window were unbelievably low. Everything inside him screamed that this was the answer to his immediate problem. Yet, a disquiet settled in his soul. He remembered the words of a street preacher he'd passed just moments earlier, a man whose voice boomed with warnings about unseen dangers and spiritual compromise. He also recalled the scripture he'd read that very morning, a quiet whisper from Proverbs urging him to guard his heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life. But hunger is a powerful persuader. The growl in his stomach drowned out the gentle warnings in his spirit. He told himself it was just a meal. What harm could it do? Pushing aside the hesitation, ignoring the subtle check in his conscience, Samuel pushed open the door and stepped inside. The warmth he expected was absent. Instead, a wave of cold, chaotic noise crashed over him. The air was thick and heavy, filled with the clatter of dishes and a cacophony of voices that held no joy, only a desperate, hollow echo. The lighting was dim, casting long, distorted shadows that danced like specters on the walls. The staff moved with a strange, almost robotic urgency, their eyes vacant, their smiles forced and unsettling. He looked at the other customers. No one was smiling. Their faces were etched with lines of anxiety and a deep, unspoken sadness. They ate mechanically, their gazes fixed on their plates as if trapped in a trance. A sense of dread began to creep up Samuel's spine. He saw a small, tarnished cross that had fallen from a necklace, lying broken on the floor, kicked into a corner. The lights above him flickered erratically, mirroring the growing turmoil inside him. Despite the blaring warning signs, he ordered. The food arrived quickly. It looked delicious, just as it had from the outside, but as he took the first bite, a profound spiritual unease washed over him. The peace he usually carried, the quiet assurance of his faith, vanished instantly. It was replaced by a gnawing anxiety, a feeling of being disconnected and utterly alone. He finished the meal, paid the small price, and hurried back out into the rainy night, but he couldn't escape the feeling that he had ingested more than just food. That night, his sleep was a battlefield. His dreams were a whirlwind of confusing, disturbing images. He saw himself lost in a dark forest, running from shadows that had no form. He saw broken chains and locked doors with no keys. Flashes of scripture he had long cherished came to his mind, but they felt distant, like echoes from a world he no longer belonged to. Verses about discernment, about not being yoked with unbelief, about walking in the light, they all accused him. He tossed and turned, the delicious meal churning in his stomach like a toxic poison. In the deepest hour of the night, Samuel suddenly woke up, his heart pounding in his chest, his body drenched in a cold sweat. The darkness of his room felt suffocating, alive. The silence was deafening. And in that terrifying moment of clarity, he knew. He understood with chilling certainty that by ignoring the warnings and satisfying his flesh, he hadn't just eaten a meal. He had made a covenant. He had willingly stepped through a doorway he was never meant to approach, and he had no idea how to get back. The real price of his meal was only just beginning to reveal itself. Have you ever felt lost, even when everything around you seems perfect? That was Samuel's story. He found this amazing restaurant, the kind everyone dreams about. The food was incredible, the atmosphere was electric, and opportunities started flowing his way. But soon, a strange feeling began to creep in. A shadow of confusion fell over his once clear mind. Peace became a distant memory, replaced by a constant restlessness. He started making bad decisions, one after another, as if an unseen force was leading him astray. The temptations grew stronger, pulling him away from everything he held dear. The life that looked so shiny and new from the outside was crumbling from within. One day, desperate for answers, Samuel met a wise old pastor. He poured out his heart, explaining the glorious restaurant and the subsequent darkness that had enveloped his life. The pastor listened patiently, his eyes filled with understanding. He then said something that shook Samuel to his core. "My son, not everything that looks good is good for you. And not every open door is a door from God." He explained that the spiritual world is real, and we must be careful about what we allow into our lives, both physically and spiritually. The restaurant, he revealed, wasn't just a place to eat, it was a symbol. It represented the ungodly influences and careless choices we make when we are not vigilant. The pastor's words were like a light in Samuel's darkness. He realized that the delicious food he had been so eagerly consuming was spiritual poison, slowly corrupting his soul and derailing his destiny. He had walked through a door that God had never opened, and now he was paying the price. The pastor guided him through a period of intense prayer and fasting. As Samuel repented for his disobedience and lack of discernment, he felt a profound shift. The confusion began to lift, and a gentle peace, one he hadn't felt in a long time, started to settle in his heart. He learned a powerful lesson. What we consume, the shows we watch, the music we listen to, the company we keep, it all shapes who we become. Our spiritual diet is just as important as our physical one. With newfound strength and clarity, Samuel knew what he had to do. He went back to the restaurant, but this time, not as a customer. He stood outside, his heart filled not with hunger for its food, but with a fire to set others free. He began to pray, rebuking the darkness that lurked behind the glamorous facade. He warned people who were about to enter, sharing his story and urging them to be careful about where they seek fulfillment. He wasn't met with anger or ridicule, but with curiosity and, in some, a flicker of recognition in their own restless eyes. It was a courageous act of spiritual warfare, driven by love for others who were walking the same dangerous path he had just escaped. A few weeks later, something incredible happened. The once bustling restaurant, the talk of the town, mysteriously shut down. The vibrant lights went dark, the enticing music fell silent. The trap had been disarmed. The source of spiritual poison had been cut off. It was a powerful symbol of victory, showing that when we stand in faith and obedience, God will dismantle the strongholds of the enemy in our lives. Samuel's journey had come full circle, not just bringing him back to the light, but empowering him to become a light for others. We see Samuel now, standing in his church, his face beaming with a joy that is pure and real. He's sharing his testimony, his voice filled with the passion of someone who has been rescued from the brink. He looks out at the congregation and says with profound conviction, "Remember this, not everything that feeds the body is good for the soul." His story is a powerful reminder for all of us. Be discerning. Guard your heart, because what you consume truly shapes your destiny. Thank you for watching, and may this story inspire you to walk in wisdom and light. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more messages of hope. God bless.